Did you know that every year, about a third of the food produced for human consumption globally gets lost or wasted? That's around 1.3 billion tons. But sometimes, what one person considers waste or strange is another person's treasure. Today, we're diving into a story about just that. A story about a woman named Clara, her very peculiar lunch, and the colleagues who learned a very valuable lesson about judging a book, or in this case, a meal, by its cover. Our story begins in the bustling glass-walled office of a modern tech company. This is where we meet Clara, a quiet but brilliant software developer known more for her code than her conversations. Every day at noon, the office would come alive with the sounds of chatter and the sense of takeout from fancy downtown eateries. But Clara's lunch was always different. And on this particular Tuesday, it was the subject of more than a few raised eyebrows and hushed whispers. You see, while her colleagues, Mark and Jessica, unboxed their gourmet salads and artisan sandwiches, Clara carefully unwrapped a foil package. Inside wasn't a vibrant Instagram-worthy meal. It was a simple, humble-looking dish, a large baked sweet potato split open and filled with what looked like a dark, chunky stew. The aroma was earthy and unfamiliar, a stark contrast to the zesty vinaigrette and freshly baked bread scenting the air. "What is that, Clara?" Mark asked, a smirk playing on his lips. "Did you forget your actual lunch and just grab a science experiment from the back of the fridge?" Jessica giggled, nudging him. "Be nice, Mark, it's rustic." But her tone was just as mocking. "I bet my $5 latte that it tastes like dirt and sadness," Mark whispered, loud enough for Clara to hear. Clara just offered a small, polite smile and said, "It's an old family recipe, it's better than it looks." They just chuckled and went back to their own meals, leaving Clara in a bubble of quiet judgment. This wasn't the first time. Clara had been at the company for 6 months, and her lunch had become a running joke. Sometimes it was a thermos of strange-smelling soup. Other times it was dense, dark bread with pickled vegetables. Her colleagues saw her as eccentric, maybe even a little poor. They couldn't understand why someone with her salary would eat such peasant food, as they called it, behind her back. They didn't know that Clara grew up on a small farm, where her grandmother taught her that the most nutritious and flavorful food wasn't always the prettiest. That sweet potato and black bean stew. It was her grandmother's recipe, a dish packed with protein, fiber, and memories. It was the meal that warmed her up after long days of helping in the fields. It tasted like home. Clara never felt the need to explain herself. She was confident in her choices and found comfort in her routine. She knew her food was fueling her body and mind far better than the processed, expensive lunches her colleagues ate. While they often complained of afternoon slumps, Clara remained sharp and focused, consistently outperforming everyone on her team. Her quiet resilience was her shield against their casual cruelty. She'd just put in her headphones, enjoy her warm, comforting meal and get lost in her work, letting their words fade into the background noise of the office. The ridicule stung, of course, but her grandmother's voice was always stronger in her memory. "Let them laugh. Good food is for the belly, not for the eyes." Now let's fast forward a few hours. The workday was wrapping up, but an unexpected torrential storm had just rolled into the city. Thunder cracked overhead, and the rain came down in sheets. A flash flood warning blared from everyone's phones. The roads were completely gridlocked and public transport was shut down. The entire office was stranded, evening plans were cancelled, and stomachs started to rumble again. The vending machine was raided in minutes, and the single bag of stale pretzels found in the back of a cupboard didn't last long. Panic started to mingle with hunger. Mark and Jessica were getting frantic. "I'm starving," Jessica whined, scrolling through delivery apps that all showed unavailable due to weather. Mark was pacing by the window. "I can't believe this. I'd kill for even a slice of pizza right now." It was then that a familiar, earthy smell wafted from Clara's desk. They turned to see her pulling another foil-wrapped package from her bag. It was a second serving of her lunch. She always brought extra, just in case she had to work late. She calmly placed it on her desk, planning to heat it in the microwave. Suddenly, that dirt and sadness stew smelled like the most delicious thing in the world. Mark and Jessica exchanged a look. Their earlier mockery was a distant memory, replaced by a primal, desperate hunger. The gourmet salads they'd eaten for lunch were long gone, leaving them feeling empty and irritable. Clara's humble meal, however, now seemed like a feast. It was hot, it was substantial, and it was right there. Jessica was the first to break. She walked over to Clara's desk, her expression a mixture of embarrassment and desperation. "Clara," she began, her voice much softer than before, "I know this is a long shot, and we were jerks earlier, but that actually smells amazing. Is there any chance we could have a bite?" Mark was right behind her, nodding eagerly. "Just a small taste. We're so hungry." Clara looked up from her screen, a little surprised. She looked at their desperate faces, then at her meal. She could have said no. She had every right to. She could have reminded them of their cruel words from just a few hours ago. But that wasn't who she was. With that same quiet grace, she nodded. "Of course," she said, without a hint of resentment. "There's plenty." She went to the kitchenette, divided the stew and sweet potato into 3 bowls she found in a cupboard, and heated them up. When she returned, the aroma filled the tense air of the waiting area. She handed a bowl to Mark and one to Jessica. They took their first bites tentatively. Then their eyes widened in disbelief. It wasn't dirt. It wasn't sadness. It was incredible. The sweetness of the potato perfectly balanced the rich, savory, slightly spicy black bean stew. It was hearty, warming, and deeply satisfying. "Clara, this is..." Mark was at a loss for words. "This is one of the best things I've ever eaten," Jessica finished for him, already taking another huge spoonful. For the next few minutes, the only sound was the clinking of spoons against bowls. They devoured the food like they hadn't eaten in days. When they were done, only one single last morsel of sweet potato was left in the original container. Almost instinctively, both Mark and Jessica's spoons shot out towards it at the same time, clashing in midair. They froze, looking at each other, then at Clara, their faces flushing with a new wave of embarrassment. The very people who had mocked her food were now literally fighting over the last bite. The irony was thick enough to cut with a knife. Clara couldn't help but let out a small, genuine laugh. The tension broke, and they all started laughing. In that moment, stranded in a dark office, huddled together over a shared meal, they weren't just colleagues anymore. In the end, this story isn't just about food. It's a powerful reminder of how quickly our judgments can be proven wrong. What we mock one moment, we might desperately need the next. It highlights the importance of looking beyond surface appearances and treating everyone with kindness and respect, because you never truly know the story behind their choices. It's a lesson in empathy, humility, and the simple, universal power of a good, home-cooked meal. So what do you think? Have you ever had your opinion of something or someone completely changed by an unexpected situation? Let me know your story down in the comments. I'd love to read them. And if you enjoyed this, you might like this other video on your screen right now about a time when kindness paid off in the most unexpected way. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories like this. See you next time.